Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Maroon Devil Football as we get a chance to talk some Maroon Devil Football with head coach Sherman Holt. Coach, I've got to say, hats off to you, the players, and the staff for doing a good job with these guys, because you look back last week, Andrews coming in, not having a great year. They're trying to get things going, and they did the best they could. But our guys came out really focused. They didn't overlook Andrews at all, and they really played solid football from the get-go last Friday.
Yeah, in that kind of game, you really want a high level of execution. And, I think our kids did a real good job, coming off a big win the week before, coming into a game where you're going to be favored to win, not getting kind of set up like you mentioned last week in that trap situation. And so our kids done a real good job, had a real good week of practice. They stayed focused. They got better every day throughout the week, and really Friday just went out and executed at a real high level. And, I think all our kids did a real good job of, doing fundamentally sound football and playing real smart. We had a couple penalties, but nothing really, glaring that kind of you would say, that cost us or something, So proud of their effort, proud of the way they executed and did what we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, and, so our kids, they really did a real good job of that.
Yeah. Coach, hats off to the offensive line, because as an old offensive lineman yourself, you can appreciate this, but our offensive line, I think, really executed well. And, man, when they get their job done, that run game really goes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, we rushed for over 350 yards, and so that's always a good thing. And, we only ran it 30 times, so wow. to go for 350 and 30 carries, that's a real good average. And, our kids up front, they did a real good job just kind of, moving people and opening up some stuff. And, they've been playing with a pretty good little edge, the last couple of weeks, and so that's always good. And when you play in the trenches, you gotta play the game a little different. And our guys up front, they've been getting better each week, and just got to continue to get better. But when you rush for 350 yards on 30 carries, that's a testament to those 5 or 6 guys up front. So they've worked hard, and they're going to continue to work hard. Just got to keep getting better each week, And I tell them to put it on their backs. And so last week, it was a good kind of payday for them, because they got to play and do some really, really good things and celebrate those guys that was carrying the football. But had a lot of explosive plays, and that was good to see too.
Yeah.
Anytime you can get 15, 20 plus yards on a play, that's a big play and can change your momentum. And we had several of those Friday night.
Yeah. Coach, I know we took control of the game early, and in that second half, you got to play a lot of kids who, they come out here every day and practice hard, just like the first team guys. And I'm sure you felt good about the way these guys who got some playing time really performed and executed in that second half.
Yeah, we actually, got to put, Aiden Kirkland in before halftime. He got a series with kind of what you would call the ones. We hadn't kind of rotated anybody out yet up front, receiver-wise, had a different running back. But, you want to see those young guys get in and execute and still, be pretty sharp. And, it might not look exactly the way it needs to be, but those guys did a real good job, because, 3 of the 8 touchdowns come with our reserves in. And so, kids done a real good job back up, second team, third team. They went in there, scored 21 points. And so that's got to be a bright spot for them. And like you said, they worked so hard in practice, and we had some guys playing some positions up front that they normally don't play, but just to try to rotate in and stuff. And so it was good to get to see those young guys get in there and get some work. And, you see them in practice, but you don't see them when the lights are on. Right. And so, it's good to see those young guys step in there and just kind of the efficiency kept being sharp and, keep scoring points. And then defensively, to give up 0 points. And, guys, Drew Cody played 2 series on defense at safety. And then Evan Ball, he come in, and then Kobe Mashburn come in and made some really good plays from a secondary. Kellen Rakoski playing some corner later in the game. All those guys, we still wanted that shutout. And, when you put those second and third string guys in, that's still the expectation defensively. You never want to give up the shutout. So proud of those guys and what they did. And I think I think we ended up giving up 4 yards a total offense Friday night. So that's a pretty good defensive effort. Anytime you keep them at 0, that's always a big accomplishment. I don't care who you play. But anytime you give up 4 yards, that's pretty doggone good by our defense. And our kids played hard. We had a couple takeaways. I think we got our hand on 3 punts. We blocked one outright, got our hand on another one, got a piece of another one, and so just all the way around, our kids played well on both sides of the football. Kicking game was good. Got to clean up a couple things. We missed a couple extra points, and one time snap was high, one time it didn't get on the block, and then one time we lifted our head up on the kick. And so just got to continue. Coaches are always going to find something to kind of harp on a little bit. So just a little bit of efficiency things there that, in a big game could cost you. I mean, we know that, from previous weeks. And so working on that a little bit in the off week, just keeping our snapping and holding and kicking stuff going good, and just our punting and kickoff game, just trying to get a little better each day, each week at that stuff. And so, because at the end of the day, it might come down to a kick or a punt or something, in the kicking game. And, I heard Urban Meyer, he was on ESPN last week, and he's talking about, Georgia Tech beating Clemson in a kicking game scenario. Georgia beating Tennessee in a kicking game scenario. And he mentioned one other one. There was 3 games that same weekend that all resulted in a special teams play.
Wow.
And so, guys, it's huge. And so we want to clean that up, because in a close, tight ball game, that could be the difference. And so, but overall, proud of our kids' effort, proud of all those kids that got in, and it just kept kind of rolling. And, and that's always good to see, is when you put a kid in, or you put a bunch of kids in, it just keeps getting better, and we keep doing what we should be doing.
All right. Fans, stay tuned. Good win. Homecoming's always a good win with all the pageantry and the homecoming court. Always a fun night, so it was a great win for our Maroon Devils. Stay tuned. We're going to come back after these great messages from our fine sponsors and talk about the off week coming up right here on the Maroon Devils Network.
Become a member of MDN Live. For the low price of $5.99 per month, you will have access to all live broadcasts of Maroon Devil athletics. All proceeds from this subscription service will go directly towards Swain Athletics to help offset the growing cost of providing multiple sporting opportunities for our student athletes. The monthly subscription is only $5.99 per month, giving members access to all live broadcasts within the month. This membership will have an option for automatic renewal, which can be canceled at any time. Our hope is that patrons will let their monthly subscriptions continue throughout the year, providing Swain High School athletics with a greatly needed source of funding year-round and give you access to all the great sports action throughout the year. So for less than the cost of a kid's meal at your favorite fast food joint, you'll be providing critical support to our student athletes each month while enjoying countless hours of Swain County Athletics Live. It's truly a win-win situation. Become a member today and do your part to help keep Swain County Athletics the best it can be.
Fans, welcome back. It's an open date for our Maroon Devils this Friday. Coach, you hear a lot of different theories on what teams should do during the open week. Do you give the kids a day or two off? Do you spend more time watching film? Do you let kids rest and heal up a little bit? Kind of what are you working on this week with no game on Friday?
So for us, Monday was a big mental day. We watched a lot of film and kind of kept that the same as our normal Mondays. We watch film pretty good while, get out on the practice field at about 4 o'clock, go for about an hour and a half. And for us this week, it wasn't necessarily installing a new game plan. Just kind of fixing you, work on you a little bit, make sure you get better. And that's kind of what we did Monday, and then the rest of the week, of course, we'll give them Friday off, and we won't do nothing Friday, but we'll go 3 more days, and we'll take a peek at Robbinsville, and take a little bit of look at Hayesville, and Cherokee, Rosman, Murphy, kind of look at a little bit of everybody this week. Start for us, getting some film maybe that we're going to be using 2 or 3 weeks down the road, trying to, maybe get it tagged and filed and stuff, just to kind of help during those weeks when you don't have an off week. Just takes a little bit of load off the second half of the season. But, comes at a good time for us. We had a really tough non-conference schedule. Yeah, and we're glad that we got SMC play started last week. And not that we're not in pretty good health, but just to get a couple guys healed up a little bit, that are beaten, dinged up a little bit. But for the most part, we're fairly healthy coming into the off week. Sometimes you got to get a bunch of kids healthy, but for us, it's a good spot right here in the middle. And we're gonna spend a couple days on Robbinsville because that's our next opponent, and so we're gonna try to get a jump on that. And we'll probably look at a little bit of Murphy stuff and Hayesville stuff because they're a little bit similar. But in our conference play, most of the teams we play, they are similar. They are. And so you can get some repetitive things week to week. And so biggest thing is just get better every day. Work hard. We'll scale back practice time a little bit this week. We won't go for 2.5 hours like sometimes, and we'll get them out of here pretty quick, and because they need to get a little extra rest. And I told our coaches when we met Sunday, it's an off week for us too. We need to kind of take time, spend a little more time with your family. Don't sit in there Tuesday night till 10 o'clock watching film because you're worried about this on Friday. So just kind of for all of us to kind of catch our breath, and just get ready for this latter end of the season that's still a pretty tough slate for us. We've still got some really good football teams to play. And so but just kind of reset, refocus mentally, physically, and just take care of our guys and just continue to work on us getting better each day. Yeah.
Coach, you talk about Robbinsville as we kind of wrap up this week's program. A new coach over there, Lucas Ford, who's been a Black Knight for a long time under head coach D. Walsh, who was there forever and had an outstanding run over there at Robbinsville. As you mentioned, Maroon Devils, Robbinsville, you look at Hayesville, Murphy, Cherokee. Boy, running the football is really big, so you really don't look for much change with Coach Ford taking over for Coach Walsh, do you?
There's going to be some stuff. Everybody's going to kind of put their stamp on it, and just looking at some film, we got some early film on them because we had some common opponents. They played Franklin, we played Franklin, they played Heritage, we played Heritage, and so it's one of those things of, we've already kind of seen them, but we really wasn't watching them. We was watching the other ones. But they're very similar to what they've been in the past. They've got some things a little different that they're doing. But at the end of the day, they play pretty doggone good defense. They're pretty stingy on that side. And offensively, they've opened it up a little bit. They're throwing it a little more, and they're doing some different things to try to outnumber you. But at the end of the day, they're going to line up and run the football. And that's what we're all going to do. I think for us in this conference, it's like, all right, who can run the football the most times for the most yards? Because at the end of the day, you run the football, you can win. And if you can stop the run, you can win. And so for us, it's kind of familiar what they're doing. They've, like I said, they've changed a little bit, but not much. And they're doing a good job defensively. Them two linebackers in the middle, the Waldrop kid and the Collins kid, those suckers are good. Two really good football players. And so I think up front it's going to be a battle in the trenches. They're pretty good up front. We're pretty good up front. They're big. We're big. It's just it's one of those things. It's going to be like it always was and always has been. Going to be a physical ball game. And I was talking to my dad this morning, and he said, "Well, what do you think about Robbinsville?" And I said, "I think it's going to be a war." Because guys, since I've been here, we this game, all but last year, was decided by one score or less. And last year wasn't a blowout. It was just we just didn't score no points. And so for us, we know physically we got to be ready. Mentally we got to be ready because we know they're going to be ready. Yeah. And so it's just good old SMC football. I mean, I think it's a rivalry week every week. But when we play Robbinsville, it's going to be a tough physical football game. And playing over there, they're going to have a good crowd. Our guys are going to travel. We need all the support we can get over there. But it's just going to be, I think, old-fashioned mountain football, and wouldn't expect anything less. But excited for our kids and opportunity, and we're going to enjoy the rest of this week and not have to worry about who's got the most points on the scoreboard Friday. But we'll get back to work at it next week, and looking forward to getting to play again. So.
Oh, no doubt. Fans, it's going to be a nice week for the Maroon Devils. Hey, you can go watch Murphy and Cherokee or somebody up the road. And but next week, Robbinsville and the Maroon Devils, as Coach said, it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out war like it always is when these two programs separated by county lines all get together. Join us next time as we'll be back next week here on the Maroon Devils Network.